everyone, and welcome back. We're looking at Sergeant Slaughter's Triple T tank, or the Tag Team Terminator. The Triple T was first released in the United States in 1986. It included the driver, Sergeant Slaughter, version 2. The Triple T was also sold in 87 and unfortunately was discontinued in 1988. The Triple T was also available as a mail in order in 91, but was colored differently, and there are some variations that we will see below. Of course, this is from yojo.com, which supplies us with a lot of wonderful pictures to be able to see. And of course, we get to see Sergeant Slaughter himself. Okay, so looking at the front, we have the wonderful kind of just a brutish view. We have our cannons on the side here, we have our missiles as well. And then having the rear view, you see, the back end of the engine here, and of course our side views, so you get a nice view of the track and our other side as well. And actually, looking at the side view, you do see that there is a tow hook back here, so it is very nice and useful that you could use this for towing, especially once we get into our next season. Once we start getting 1987 vehicles, you'll find a lot more towable vehicles coming out, and some wonderful isometric views here. All right, as we kind of finish up on looking at some of the views, here we have our engine cover and our missiles. And then there's a wonderful view of Sergeant Slaughter and Leatherneck. Okay, we have our file card on the back side of the box. And here is our schematic, which is what I was using for trying to create our stats that we're going to use in our D6 Star Wars G.I. Joe creation here. All right, so looking down at this, we do have a nice sunbow look at it. So we have Sergeant Slaughter, quick kick back there, and I believe that is sci-fi. And then we also have the Sergeant Slaughter Triple T commercial. So, okay, and looking at our variants, so we do have the original Triple T, and then we have a more whitish version of it in 91. I would say that this would be maybe a Mark II or something, having a different color. But either way, I mean, looks like there was the Knight Raider version as well. So let's kind of click on that one and see what the Knight Raider version. It's all black with some red on there. So, we did have a couple different color variations here, which is kind of neat, and it gives us a little bit of variety. So that's always kind of nice when we're looking at this stuff in those terms. All right, so let's look at the stats that we've created for this for, like I said, our G.I. Joe Star Wars role-playing game. Putting this into the D6 Star Wars role-playing game, I don't have an actual footage for anything here, so this is all just taking it on a whim, trying to figure out exactly how long this could be. So I'm roughly guessing it's going to be about 15 feet long. Now, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just kind of eyeballing it and just seeing, for the length and everything else, 15 feet may very well work. So that comes out to about 4.5 meters. We do have a crew of one. Quite often with our G.I. Joe vehicles, we have people kind of hanging off on the sides. So I did say 2 passengers. Having our 45 kilograms for our cargo capacity because it's our standard. Actually, I think I did knock that down on one of the other ones. So why don't I knock that down to 25 kilograms? Because that does equate roughly to, as we were looking at this on one of our other ones, it's about 55 pounds. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. I mean, it's ground based, so it's not like you're limited. But I will say if you have a big pack or something sitting off on one side, most likely you're not going to have an extra character sitting there. So just throwing it out there in those terms. Looking at it, I'm going to say you have about 1/2 coverage. And of course, it is ground level, so we have it on the ground. We have maneuverability. I figured 2D when I was originally doing this the other day. Actually, because it's a smaller vehicle, it might have a 3D. So why don't I bump that up? So I mean, we do this on the fly as you know, it's always nice going over things because when I'm first creating this stuff, I'm kind of trying to think of it through, and I do sometimes second guess myself. So, um, just sometimes re-looking at it, it's like, yeah, that really doesn't add up as well as I think it should, or whatever. So we modify things, right? Okay, so it did say on the file card it goes about 40 miles an hour, um, which turns out being, actually, I don't even know if it said 40 miles an hour. I was just taking 40 because that's roughly where we put governors on a lot of the tracked vehicles. And this is a smaller vehicle, so you're going to be a very, very narrow wheelbase in that regard. So to try and help keep us from tipping over as much, we'll go a little bit slower. I think our Bradleys, when I was a Bradley driver, we were racing, and I think it tops off about like 35 to maybe 40 miles an hour, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't remember exactly. I mean, it's been many years by now. Um, so I'm thinking that it's very possible that that's what we're going to have here as well. And the Havoc, I believe, went about 40 miles an hour. So I think that all keeps pretty consistent here. So that's also 64 kilometers per hour because everything in Star Wars is in metric. So trying to make sure that we have a metric representation. I did give it a body strength of 3D. I think that's pretty appropriate. It is kind of beefed up here as a speeder, but it is small. Um, and I think if you start really wearing and tearing on it, I think it can kind of wear out. So it is above average by 1D. Um, I give it a dual light repeating blasters. I don't remember exactly what it said because I know when I was kind of going through this. Let me see if I don't know if you guys probably won't see this, but I'm bringing it up here. Um, let's see. Um, Trying to remember what it said as far as the cannons go. Turret mounted 30 millimeter cannons. Um, so those are large cannons here, but just kind of looking at it, I put it down as dual light repeating blasters. Um, and of course, they're fire linked. They are at um, personnel scale because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking these are going to be more machine guns than 30 millimeter. 30 millimeter is a fairly large cannon in comparison to this, so I figured if I kept it a little bit more to that scale, I think that would really work or fit the machine better than what they had listed. So that's why I have it that way. Not saying you couldn't bump that up. If you feel it needs to have that 30 millimeter, I would definitely put that at speeder scale for the 7D damage. I'm thinking maybe like a 50 caliber or something like that on there, um, or an equivalent with the dual light repeating blasters. They actually do the 7D damage. That's the actual range out of the book. So that's what I put it at. And the fire control is at 1D. So really, you have to move the vehicle more so to get your aim correct. And then we have, it's listed in the schematics, the MGM 79 missiles. I believe it said heat seeking missiles. I just left it as missiles. Um, they're at speeder scale. They have a fire control of 2D. I did leave it a little less damage. Um, and I left it at 40. These are not very large missiles. And say it can go out to 3 kilometers. That's going to be a lot of propellant in there in comparison to actual explosives. So I figured that would be kind of fitting in that regard, being a little less damage. Um, right or wrong, if you feel it needs to be bigger, by all means, make it bigger. But I think this really represents the missiles that we actually see here. And that's what I'm kind of going off of. you know, trying to make it feel like the machine we're looking at. Um, and sometimes, like I said, um, things don't always seem to jive quite as well as what they're saying they are. There again, I think sometimes when they're making it, we have people that haven't been in the military, so they're just throwing out stats. I don't want to bash them because they're having fun with it, and that's what this is really for. This is just having fun. Um, you want to truly represent the vehicle that we see, and I'm hoping to try and really capture that. Um, however, it really goes. So with that, I think this does represent the machine in general, um, and I think it's pretty good. So hope you enjoy the series. It's fun bringing this to you every day. We'll keep it going as long as we can, and when we get done with the vehicles, we have other genres to bring into our whole Star Wars. So it's not like we're just going to do this. We're going to hit other genres too. But in the meantime, it's fun bringing all this to you. We'll keep this going. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.